All right, folks out there, this is Dave Gibb, founder of CHAPS and host of CHAPS Darkside. This is episode 8 of our fledgling podcast, and I'm absolutely honored to have a wonderful friend of mine on that has treated us with nothing but gold hands, and our friends likewise the same. Owner and proprietor of one of the best locations we've done, if not the best. Frankly, it's on the 1-2 listing. And has other places, as well as works with other organizations, other people we are all aware of, yada yada yada. I could really go on about this for about 3,000 years. His Scooby-Doo machine, the whole bit, everything. But I'd like to introduce Mr. Robbin Terry, for me, primarily owner of Ashmore Estates. How are you doing tonight, Robbin?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate you having me on here.
Well, it's exciting to have you on here. I mean, have you managed to stay busy these days, or?
You know, with my office in Ashmore, I'm swamped. Ashmore has really picked up a lot since about June, and my office is going crazy. Just for my work I do here, insurance-wise, and but yeah, it's been busy. It's been a busy June on, so it's kind of crazy. Well,
that was one of the first questions I wanted to ask you was, how is Ashmore, and your theater doing with COVID and all that?
Well, the theater, I've actually kind of shut down a lot of stuff we're doing here, just because of the situation that we had with our one guest that kind of drifted into the building, which I'm sure that you're aware of. And but then but Ashmore's been good. The investigations we've been doing out there have been like limited to 12 people, which is what we always done anyway, as far as our public investigations. And when you got 15,000 people, or 15,000 square feet, I should say, and 12 people, you got a lot of room to spread out. So that's not an issue out there at all. And the private groups that have come in, they all drive in the same car and everything, so it's not a problem with that. So we've got the place. We've been cleaning the surfaces down and doing some stuff like that with some sanitizing and all, but it hasn't been a problem so far.
Oh, well, that's good. I mean, it's hasn't hit you like it's hit so many other businesses. That's good. I know that there's a lot of locations in the States that rent out like yourself that had been on the hiatus for a little while, and I can imagine that would be a bit of a hit, really. I mean, if you get a larger location, I don't know, something like Moundsville, where it's a historical society that owns it, and they couldn't run for so many months. That'd be crazy, I would imagine. I'm pretty sure they would have shut down.
I would think that they would have. I mean, like Raven Hills, they start booking about March or April, and they're booked every night of the week. So by shutting that thing down, it's going to cost them $30,000 to $45,000 a month, to shut the place down.
That's absolutely crazy. I guess I don't know how we're going to come beyond that. I mean, I know that the whole COVID situation, up here in Canada, seems to have plateaued and starting to dip here in Ontario. We've been pretty hardcore with the whole doing what you've got to do to make sure you don't get it and all that. And I know stateside things are crazy depending on what area of the country you're in. The Midwest, you guys seem to be a little more calm about things, I think.
Well, except for Chicago, which is like 3 hours north of me, and then St. Louis is 2 hours south of me. But those two areas, it seem like Chicago, especially, was hit pretty hard for a while. And and who knows? It's also, I don't get into the political side of things, but I think there's a lot of politics going on with it too. And so after November, who knows? It might all clear up.
Oh, we're definitely watching your politics with bated breath. That's for sure. I don't touch a lot of American politics, except for the fact that out of 350 million people, I wish you had 2 other people to go vote for on either side of the spectrum, frankly. So I just was just wondering here about, well, let's talk about, have you done any, you had to have, I know you had to have, any new renovations?
We've done, we actually haven't done a lot out there at Ashmore. I mean, we've, well, I'm running out of things to do. Bill Chappell had said something to me in 2016 when he was out there. He asked me how far I was going to go with the place. And I said, I think I'm kind of getting close to being finished. And he said, good. He said, because you're going to ruin the feel of this place if you keep improving and adding and building it back the way it was. He said, just leave it the way it is. And I think there's something to do that. So we've just been trying to clean things up a little bit more and doing some things like that. We put concrete in a patio out there about 3 years ago.
Yep.
I don't think you've been out there. I don't know if you were out there when we did that or not.
I think it was. I think it was still the patio. Still, no, it was gravel when we were there.
Yeah, it was gravel. Yeah, we put concrete out there and put new picnic tables out there, and we're doing just some other cleanup type work around there, and just improving some things, maybe more internally. I'm working on hooking up cameras so that people can use cameras when they come out there, instead of bringing their own system, or if they forget their system or something, they'll be able to use our cameras. We'll have them mounted on tripods, have everything there, have a DVR system set up there. So basically they could take a thumb drive and videotape the entire night and take it home with them without having to bring their own equipment in. And if they don't have it, that's just that much better for them. They can do that and make it run 16 cameras and take it home.
Well, that really honestly was one of the greatest things about the setup you had there was, I mean, really, it was set up when you showed up, and because you had all the cottages and the fire pits and that, well, it really takes away a lot of the work that we have to do, and that's generally the work that takes away from investigating, and truly get to investigate. And of course, one of the things that I was saying on my preamble before I brought you on was saying that I know for us, especially for us, and it's the first time it's really ever happened, out of just shy of 500 investigations CHAPS has done now, is that all of our evidence corresponded with all the news stories and all the claims. Like, I discussed and I played, I don't know how well it's going to come across on the podcast, 4 EVPs. One of which was somebody calling Alma, right? A little girl. And then we got, it was a little boy saying no, 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 no. We've got multiple children playing, and then when we had a static audio running all night while we were sleeping, we had piano playing going on. Ironically, that audio was in, I don't know what direction I'm looking, but down near the nurse's station in that room. It wasn't where the piano is. But I think you had said at one point in time the piano was down there. But we got the piano in that room.
You know? Yeah, I think they moved that piano actually came from their haunted house when they did that there. So it wasn't originally to the building, but they had on this, I know on the second floor they had some areas, especially down by the nurse's station, where you can go back to look at some of the older pictures. They sat outside there and they would play music things out there, so it wouldn't be outrageous to think that they did have possibly a piano out there, maybe on the porch or something like that, because that's the area where they would sit and play music all the time.
I did find it really crazy strange that the children's voices playing and yelling back and forth were more pronounced than our voices, which were in the building. And yet, of course, we've had discussions about this, and I've run my drone all around there, and really that farm down the street is the closest thing. And I really don't think we hear little children playing inside the building at 2 a.m. closer than we were to that audio. It was fantastic, absolutely fantastic evidence that we received there as far as audio goes. And on 2 separate occasions we got the piano. The first time we were there, we got piano over our headsets. The second time is when we actually got the audio recording. And both times we've been, our evidence matched each other. You know, we got consistent evidence both trips, which were 2 years apart.
Yeah, we've had some people that have been in there and playing music. Just we had a girl in there, I think she played the cello. I brought a cello and sat down there where the piano is, and there was some little blocks set up on top of the piano, and while she was playing it, all of a sudden these blocks all get knocked off the piano. And they actually have it on video. It's pretty interesting. Awesome. I don't know how they were sitting on the piano. I'm not going to say it's paranormal, not paranormal, but they were sitting on there for quite a while, and then all of a sudden they get knocked off. It's kind of, the coincidence is pretty high.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a great location. I know it's one of the first that I'm coming back to when I'm back on the road. Let's have a look here. So where is like the most, is there a more active room these days?
It used to be that the third floor was probably some of the more active area, but in the last year or so, the first floor has came to get really crazy.
Really?
Yeah, a friend of mine, Brian Murray, who's on Ghost Hunters.
Yep.
Him and Rochelle Stratton, who are also on Ghost Hunters, they were there over the weekend, did an investigation there, and when they were actually on the first floor. Brian said he never even got the third floor. That third floor is his favorite, and he didn't even get up there. He just stayed on the first floor almost the entire time. He said there were shadows in there, heard shadows in there. They heard people talking. It was like we didn't just get up the first floor. He said it was crazy the entire night.
That's awesome. Well, it's kind of neat. Like I said, it's very, and really, honestly, even the outside there is something else. Just standing up in the cornfields. I mean, there's a certain enigmatic energy to the place. I mean, really and truly, because you know and I know, investigation can get kind of boring. You know, when a team can stay there for 2 and 3 days in a row and still do it, then well, it's got to be good. I know Wes Coleman had asked me. He said, well, you better ask him about the mean ghost at the art theater there at the theater. So you kind of brought it up. So now I've got to ask you, because Mr. Coleman's a lot bigger than me, and he said.
That's
okay. That's gag reel footage. Pretty sure that Wes did that.
So yeah, good old Wes. Yeah.
Yep.
So you're not familiar with this ghost from the theater?
No.
Oh, we could do a whole show on this. It's kind of weird because we had a situation. I'll just kind of back up and tell you the whole thing since you're not familiar with it.
Yeah, please.
We had I do some things called newbie nights.
Yeah.
So we bring like 10 or 12 investigators in, never investigated before, always want to do something, and they feel comfortable because the theater, I live here at the theater.
Right.
And so they feel comfortable because they know it's my house, so like nothing can go wrong, we're here. And we even do most of it with lights on. And so we're doing our walkthrough, which takes me about 45 minutes. And I always take a recorder with me. We're doing the walkthrough, and then we go back. And we usually always have a couple of EVPs we pick up at least during the walkthrough. So we go back, and we're sitting at some tables, and I've got 12 sets of headphones with powered speakers and everything on their headphones so that they can all adjust the volume for themselves. And we're listening to this, and we're picking up some things, and hearing some things. And it takes about an hour by the time we're going through these. Well, I have 3 friends of mine that are psychics over here, and so they, one of them had never been here before. So the other 2 said, hey, can we take Damon through the building? I'm like, sure, yeah, go ahead. And my wife said, well, I'll wander with you. And there's 2 other guys that are here, and they've already been here before. So they said, we'll just go ahead and we'll tag along. So the 5 of them took off, went through the building, and when they went through, they just kind of let Damon do his thing because he's a psychic medium. And on the first floor, he was saying, he asked my wife, he said, I'm seeing a lot of digging. He said, there's digging going on here, and I could just see somebody digging and digging. What's below here? She said, well, it's the basement. And he's like, all right. He said, but I'm seeing this digging going on, and it's weird. So then he was watching. He was in the a room here, and I have one room right off the stage of our theater. We got a stage here that we built inside the theater, inside our house, and so he said, I'm hearing the song by Creed's Clearwater that's It Ain't Me. And she's like, don't know anything about it. Well, I have 45 records on the ceiling in my green room, as I call it, because it's right off the stage area. And so it's like, it's probably just because you probably got that record up here someplace, but I'm seeing this song, It Ain't Me, or hearing It Ain't Me. And he said, then I'm seeing the old Western actor, the Duke. And he said, the Duke just keeps popping in my head. And so he said, I'm not sure what that's all about either. So then they kind of wandered upstairs to the room we have. We have 2 levels that we built inside our house, inside the movie theater. And the second level is where we live. The first floor is where my son used to live. And on the second floor, they're up there, and he's walking around. He came over by one of the armoires, and he said, there's a lot of energy attached to this armoire. And he said, it's not good. He said, it's kind of evil. And he said, it's just bad. There's something just bad about this armoire. He said, I don't like it at all. And so he's like, let's leave. So they left, and so they're going downstairs to the basement. And he said, all right, I know you guys ran a haunted house here. He said, so I know that my subconscious is telling me there's clowns down here. He said, but I'm thinking there's probably clowns because you're in a haunted house. He said, but I keep seeing clowns in your basement. And he's like, I'm also seeing the jail cell. And he said, so he's like, I'm not sure what that's all about, but I've seen the jail cell and clowns. So they go downstairs, and he comes into one area, and we did have like a jail cell set up down there because I had a 50,000 watt Jacobs ladder, and I didn't want people touching that during our haunted house, so I had that set up like in the jail, and then I actually had it enclosed in some fiber or some plexiglass down there. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, all right, well, there's the cell. He said that I was seeing, but he said, I'm still seeing this guy digging, and now I'm seeing clowns. So he said he walked around the corner, and there was some clowns hanging up. So he's like, all right, there's the clowns. That makes sense now. He said, so there's the whole thing with the clowns. So they're kind of wandering through a little bit, and he's still seeing more digging going on. And they go upstairs, and they're sitting in our theater room. And he's like, all right, he said, we got to figure out what this is all about. He said, I've seen the digging, I've seen the clowns, I've seen the Duke, John Wayne the Duke. And he said, I don't know. And so then Patty, one of the other psychics, said, Norma, who my wife was sitting on the floor back by the double doors of the theater room. She's like, I don't want to alarm you, but John Wayne Gacy is standing right behind you. Oh. And she's like, okay. And she's like, he's not here to hurt you. He wants to talk to us because he wants us to help him cross over, and that's why he's here. Oh. And she's like, and he's shackled. He's not going to hurt you. He has shackles on, and there's a lot of stuff around his legs, but I'm not going to tell you what that is. She still, to this day, hasn't told me what that was. So they're all sitting there thinking, okay, what the hell is John Wayne Gacy here in this building? Yeah. And so, they're trying to figure the whole thing out. What brought John Wayne Gacy here? Well, my wife was sitting there and said, well, when you met, I don't know if it makes a difference or not, but when I was in college, my roommate's brother, while I was in college, was killed by John Wayne Gacy. Oh. And they're like, okay. And so then the other two guys that walked through with him said, well, now that you mention it, it's like we worked for the Department of Public Health before we retired. We handled all the paperwork, came right across my desk. He's like, I handled all the paperwork for John Wayne Gacy when they took him to prison. And it's like, I held his file, I handled all the files, all the paperwork for him. And so that kind of got him a little bit more creeped out. And so then they're like, my wife told him, said, remember that armoire upstairs you talked about? And Dave was like, yeah. He's like, Robbin bought that from the attorney that represented John Wayne Gacy. Oh, jeez. And so we're like, well, what difference does that make? Well, she owned it, but he didn't. He was never around it. Well, I found out after the fact that she had 3 paintings that he did for her, and I actually held those paintings. In fact, I was going to buy those, but then she realized she couldn't sell them because she couldn't profit off of off his actions. But she used to store those paintings in that armoire. Oh. The weird thing about that armoire is when I bought it from her, I got it out there. We picked it up. We had it was out there. She had a TV set in it. I took the TV set out. I took all the stuff out of there and just left her at the house that she was at. And then took the armoire home. Got it home, refinished the armoire, and took it upstairs. And the armoire is now locked. I can't get it open. It's been locked ever since I took it upstairs and set it down. I thought, okay, maybe the padlock, it's got a little deadbolt thing, maybe it just slid down. In fact, I'm taking a screwdriver, trying to pry it open so I can get it out of there. Can't do that. I take it upside down, taking a rubber mallet, hit it, thinking that it just fell into place. I can't get it done, can't get it out. To this day, it's still locked. So you've got a very, very famous resident. Well, and then it goes a little deeper, too, because we found out after the fact, too, that when I asked I sent his attorney, or the attorney an email, say, hey, I've got some weird things that have gone on because of John Wayne Gacy, but I don't know if you want to talk about it or not. I mean, I said, you may just kind of like, I'm done with that, I'm over that. And she's like, no, I'd like to hear it. So I told her, I said, about everything that's going on with the armoire, and that's when she told me that she stored paintings in there. And then I asked her, I said, well, what about this? And she's like, what's this about the It Ain't Me, the song? And I said, well, that's what I was going to ask you. And she's like, well, she said, when he went before the judge, when he went back to the second trial, he went before the judge, he told the judge, it ain't me, it's somebody else that's doing this, but it ain't me. And were his exact words. And then we found out that when he lived in Springfield, which is like 15 or 20 minutes from me. Yeah. He lived in Springfield, Illinois. He came from Chicago, moved to Springfield for a while, and he lived on Normandy Road in Springfield.
Right.
Well, Normandy Road was, I mean, my wife's name's Norma, her dad's name's Norman. And the coincidence, I mean, there's 1,000+ roads in Springfield. For him to live on that road, it's just weird to me.
Sort of,
you know, that came along.
It's like the 10 degrees of John Wayne Gacy.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, that's good.
and then we found out a couple of years ago we had a psychic medium here, and you know, and I didn't tell him anything about the story, the whole shot. Well, he had gone through. We were doing a Unity Day in February, and he went to use the restroom, and he came over and right before we went to lunch, he's like, "I need to talk to you." I'm like, "All right." He's like, "I got to tell you about somebody I saw in your building." I'm like, "Okay, you see people all the time." He's like, "Yeah, but this is different." And so we started talking a little bit, and I said, "What'd you see?" He's like, "I don't know how to tell you this." And I said, "Well, just tell me." And he's like, "Well, I saw a serial killer in your building." I'm like, "Which serial killer?" And he's like, "John Wayne Gacy." I'm like, "Where?" He's like, "Top of the stairs." I'm like, "Oh, he's back?" He's like, "What do you mean he's back?" And I said, "We've had encountered with him before." And so he went upstairs, and we started walking around, and it just so happened that the two gentlemen that were here the one night were here again that time, and then my wife was here, so we all went upstairs, and he said, "Don't tell me anything about anything up here." He said, "Let me see if I can figure out what he's doing up here." I'm like, "All right." So he's wandering around and everything, and now Brad Kling has done an episode called Strange Curiosity. It's on Amazon Prime about the John Wayne Gacy thing, including interviews with the psychic mediums. It's called Killer Coincidence. If you're on Amazon Prime, you can watch that there.
Okay.
But so the other gentleman went through, the other psychic went through and started looking at everything, and he came upon that armoire, and he was like, "All right, this is it. He's attached to this armoire." And I'm like, "Okay." And he said, and I asked him why. Well, and even if this guy had seen the episode from Brad Kling, this part's not in there, and about paintings. And he said, "There's paintings stored here." And I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "Yeah." He said, "He's protecting the paintings. That's why he's here."
Oh.
And I'm like, "All right." He said, "So that's why he wants it locked, because he doesn't want anybody to get those paintings. They don't belong to anybody here. They belong to his attorney." And I said, "There's no paintings in there." He said, "Well, he says there are." I'm like, "No, there's not." And I sat there and almost kind of like argued with this psychic for like 5 minutes. He's like, "Have you looked everywhere in there?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's not like it has hidden compartments or anything." And I said, "No, there's no paintings in there." And he said, "Well, that's what he's protecting." I said, "There were in there at one time." I said, "But they're no longer there." And so then he started talking about, he said, "Well, what's back here in the back?" And I said, "Why?" He said, "Because he likes to go back here and watch." And I said, "What do you mean watch?" He's like, "Just watch people." I'm like, "All right, well, we've had numerous times that people that, in my garage, my garage is like 2,500 square feet. And we have tables and chairs. We set up for like 90 to 100 people back there at times. And I've had numerous times people have seen somebody walking in a loft area that I built above the garage area out there.
Right.
And that's where he tells me that he goes back there and stands and watches. So it's there's some creepy stuff. I mean, it's pretty bizarre. There's a book out there right now that's been written about the ghost of Gacy that Richard Estep wrote, and Wes is in that book, mentions that in that book. And then it's on Amazon Prime. There's another book coming out, and then it's going to be part of another movie that's coming out from the Blues Brothers called The Attached. They're going to be discussing that armoire and all as well. So it's pretty kind of a crazy whole thing that happened out here.
Well, that's excellent. Well, okay, so out there, and I know you guys all know each other, all the owners that own all these haunted locations. Why don't you give me a I don't know, maybe a bucket list, because you've probably been to them all. But if you could say, you know what, I want to investigate 3 properties.
3 properties, huh?
3 properties that either you've done you want to go back to, or you haven't done and you'd like to do.
Okay. I have never been out. I want to get out to Trans-Allegheny sometime.
Me too.
I'd like to go out and do that one. I really enjoy going to St. Albans because I know the people out there. I enjoy meeting with them and talking to them. So I'm supposed to be slated to go out there in April next year to do some speaking about the Gacy situation there, and so that'll be fun. A third one, I hear so much about it. I'd probably go out to Hinsdale House just because I know Daniel out there, and it would be nice just to go out there and visit and see. See that place?
Yeah.
You know, my problem when I go out to a lot of these locations, I'll sit and just chat with the owners,
Yeah.
the people that they're there most of the time, and I've done that numerous times. But I'll go out to been out of Waverly Hills about 4 or 5 times, and I'll sit and talk to Tina for an hour or two.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just sitting there, just talking to her and seeing how things are going and what she's been up to and all.
Mm-hmm. We did. I know we did Hinsdale's sister location, the Wildwood there, and Dan, we're gonna get down to Hinsdale as well. The Trans-Allegheny is on our bucket list for sure. And St. Albans, we have a particular attachment to St. Albans CPRI. I don't know what they called them, the docent team or whatever for that building. We went and we actually did some work on St. Albans. We put a handicap ramp onto the building when we went there. We helped out. CPRI is from Virginia. They're out of that area. And it was a great building. Man, Virginia is the hottest state in the world. Both investigations we've done out there at St. Albans, and then we did Bacon's Castle. It's got to be 135 degrees every single time we go to Virginia. Good God. You Americans, you like it hot. And I don't.
No, not all of us do. Trust me.
Like I'm not as big as I used to be. I'm down 100 pounds, but damn it, and the heat just kills me. So okay, let's go on through here. So that's good. And so what else? Other ventures you have? You have, is it Wounded Warriors you work with? Is that it, or what's the organization you work with veterans?
I guess I work with Lost Limbs Foundation.
Lost Limbs.
Yeah, they help the amputee children that lost arms, legs. Mike actually took care of a child recently that lost an eye, and he had to have basically a false eye put in, and in the socket. So he's helped him out as well. So that's kind of who I primarily do a lot of work with, and been doing some things and help raising money for them to help kids. It's kind of an enjoyable play venture.
Absolutely. And what do you have? What do you have going on right now at the Ashmore, and how do we contact you?
Right now, we've got our public investigations, and then we've got some third-party investigations coming in with different people. No real celebrity-type guests this year. We've got Nick Ruff coming in November. That's probably the only one. We were supposed to do that one in May, but we got pushed to November, so we're going to that one's still up. The Booth Brothers will be out there. You know, I forget about them being celebrity-type individuals because they're just good friends of mine, so right. I never think of them that way. And you know, just like Rochelle and Brian this past weekend out there, they're just friends of mine, and they're
right.
not celebrities in my eyes. But we do public investigations out there quite a bit. You can reach us at www.ashmoreestates.net, or on Facebook. It's Ashmore Estates on Facebook as well.
Okay. I know that the last investigation I did out there, Ben Hansen is supposed to come up and do it with us. I had talked to Ben in about 2 days prior hand. He had a conflict of interest, which was a real pain. That's too bad. I'm going to have him on my show in a few weeks, so it'd be good to talk to Ben again. Absolutely. Jeez, I don't know what to say, Robbin. I'm absolutely pleased as punch to be chatting with you. I know I've got, I updated my will the other day, and I have it in my will that a container of my ashes, a portion of my ashes, are to be sent to Ashmore Estates to be on resident. And, well, yeah, I mean, we've got the CHAPS room up there. I don't know if our banner's still up there, but
oh yeah, it's still on there. Yep,
good stuff. Well, it sits so far into our heart. It's embedded in the grain of our team. But Robbin, I really, really want to thank you for spending this time with me, and for all the support you've given CHAPS over the years, and myself. So you have a wonderful night, and keep your ears open for this, and share the hell out of it when you see a copy of it. And we'll be talking really soon, my friend.
All right, sounds great. I'll do it.
Be good.
Thank you. You too.